Happy Independence Day, folks, and welcome back to hashtag AskGSM here today, episode 240 for July 4th, 2018. That is right, for my fine folks here in America. Happy 4th of July. To everyone else in the world, hope you're having a great Wednesday. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and every single Wednesday right here on the show, no holiday breaks, I answer your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to send in a question, please tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last, but certainly not least, be sure to drop a question down below on this very video in the comment section. I'll include it in next week's edition. So with all that being said, we'll just get right down to it here today. Don't have a ton of time, but we have a plenty of questions to answer here in today's holiday edition of hashtag AskGSM. And I do want to mention before we get started real quick, I literally just looked it up, but this Sunday, July 8th, does mark 5 years to the day since I started this show, which is fucking crazy. But 240 episodes later, we're still here, baby. We're still here delivering near weekly episodes. I don't really think I've missed a week in a while. And if I have, I've done two episodes in a week. But I don't think we've missed a weekly episode of hashtag in at least 2 or 3 years, because I know there was a period in like late 2015 where I was getting my laptop fixed and I couldn't put up an episode for a few weeks. But beyond that, I'm pretty sure we've done an episode, at least one episode a week for the last 2 or 3 years. And I know there was a period in like the second half of 2013 where I wasn't doing shows for a while. But beyond that, in the last 5 years, I've done an episode almost every single week. And this show would not be here today if it wasn't for you guys. It went from being like 10 minutes long, because at one point my YouTube videos could only be like 15 minutes in length. They went from being 15 minutes long to just about an hour long every single week, 50 to 110 minutes, whatever it might be, or an hour and 10 minutes, sometimes even 3 hours. I think our 200th episode celebration back in September went about 2 hours in length, or 3 hours in length, which was crazy. I think the longest episode I've ever done. And it was a live episode. We might do something like that again in the future. It's really a big time commitment, and I don't really have that right now. Maybe when I start class again in the fall, we'll see. Maybe for, I don't know when it'll be by the time that I hit 250 in a couple, about 10 weeks from now. I'm not sure when that would be, like in the fall, I guess. I don't know. So maybe around that point, we might do another live episode. Maybe every 50 episodes, we'll do something live. But nonetheless, I just do want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support of the show, of me, everything here on the YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate it. And like I said, the show, the channel, me, myself, and the work I do would not be here today if it wasn't for your amazing support. So let's get started here from Prince5835 from the YouTube machine. His first question was, as we reach 1,000 episodes of SmackDown this October, who would you say was the heart and soul of that show over the years? Also, who would you say was the heart and soul of Raw over the past 25 years? Two very good questions. For SmackDown, I think it's got to be The Undertaker. Now, I know he has not been on the show consistently in about 5 or 6 years, maybe even 7 years. But from when the show first became what it was in 1999, and then the brand split was started in 2002, Undertaker was a constant on SmackDown. The first name that I think of when I think SmackDown is The Undertaker. Now, there's a lot of other people who help SmackDown and make SmackDown what it is today. John Cena in the early years and in recent years. Recently, AJ Styles. I would say he's currently the heart and soul of SmackDown. But if we're talking all time here, The Rock, for obviously creating the name SmackDown and being the pioneer of that show when it first was launched. Batista, obviously, Eddie Guerrero. But yeah, Undertaker is the first person that I think of. When you say SmackDown, I think Undertaker. For Raw, it can really be a number of people. If you said John Cena, I would not argue with you. I think he has to be up there. Because again, he's been a staple on the show, by and large, from like 2005 up until present day. So John Cena has to be in the conversation. If you said, like, Vince McMahon, then I wouldn't argue with that either. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think, is a big name in Raw's history, making Raw what it was during the Attitude Era. But it only lasted a couple of years, and we're talking 25 years here of Raw. I mean, I'm very happy that he was a part of Raw 25, and I was there to see that, and, back in January, it was amazing. But yeah, I mean, I think he has to be in the conversation. I don't know if I would go with just Stone Cold, though. Rock as well. Undertaker, not. I mean, I would associate Undertaker with SmackDown more than I would with Raw, like I said earlier. Honestly, DX, if not just Shawn Michaels by himself. Because Shawn Michaels was one of, if not the only, long-term, long-tenured employee of that company that never switched shows. He was never not a part of Monday Night Raw. From the time that it launched in 1993 up until he retired in 2010, Michaels was always a member of the Raw brand. I mean, he wrestled a few matches on SmackDown, but not many. So yeah, he was always the heart and soul of Monday Night Raw for me. And even in recent years, it's not like even though he retired, he's not on Raw anymore. He still shows up at least once or twice a year. SmackDown as well, I don't know how I forgot to say him, but Edge. Edge has got to be a big one. I would still say Undertaker, but Edge might be the runner-up. But yeah, for Raw, it's got to be Shawn Michaels. He had been on the show day in, day out for, 17 years? And now even in recent years, he's been getting involved with D-Generation X reunions, doing stuff with Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker and stuff like that. So I would certainly say that Triple H must be up there as well, but I would certainly say that Shawn Michaels has been the heart and soul of Monday Night Raw since the beginning. His second question, a bit of a long-winded one, but a good one nonetheless. And the second question was, I haven't been watching full episodes of Raw or SmackDown since last year, but over the past few years, the one thing that bugs me are these wrestlers that have these cool outfits and nicknames, but they never go through with an actual gimmick or have a reason behind it. Like, for example, I saw a picture of Mustafa Ali on Instagram, and he had a dope Mortal Kombat type attire. So instead of just being a guy in a costume who wrestles like every other wrestler, he should incorporate that entire into a beast of a character and actually stand out. Because if we've learned anything from people like Rosemary, Matt Hardy, and the Boogeyman, it's that characters can still get over in wrestling. In WWE's case, Finn Balor is a prime example of someone who should be living the demon gimmick 24/7, especially in the ring. But instead of making a lot of money, he decides to be regular, smiling Finn Balor. Then there's the nickname with no real, the people with nicknames that really have no explanation, like Pirate Princess. What makes Kairi Sane a pirate princess? Just because you have a hat and do a salute, that doesn't make you a pirate. Am I the only one that feels this way? You're not. At least with the nickname, I do agree kind of on both fronts. We need more characters in wrestling. Now, they have a great one in Woken Matt Hardy. They're not really doing much with him. I know he's one half of the current Raw Tag Team Champions, but really, he's losing to fucking Curtis Axel every single week. Is he really doing much of no? I would argue no. But yeah, Matt Hardy's a great example of a guy that took a character that was so out of this world, and it has worked perfectly. Outside of wrestling, but also within the realm of WWE. He's gotten the Woken stuff over. And Lucha Underground is another great example, too. That's a very wrestling-heavy show, of course, but they've gotten a lot of great characters over. That would never work in WWE, like Mil Muertes. Pentagon Jr. isn't really much of a character. When I think character, I'm thinking like I said, Mil Muertes, and the fact that he's died 1,000 times, a man of 1,000 deaths. Like, that's the epitome of what wrestling should be, like sports entertainment, characters that are so out of this world, and you really, not that to, suspend your disbelief because it's not real like that, like the man who dies 1,000 times. It's just purely ridiculousness, but it's so much fun at the same time. So I do agree we need more characters like that in WWE. I do disagree with two things that you said, though, and the nicknames I do agree with as well. I've said that for years. Why the hell is Dean Ambrose the Lunatic Fringe? Who the fuck cares? Why? What makes him so crazy? What makes Seth Rollins the Architect? I know they're just nicknames and just marketing to slap a name onto a t-shirt just to sell a cheap t-shirt on WWE Shop. I get that. But still, they really should take those nicknames that they give people, these buzzwords, these hyperboles, and then give them to people and then make them mean something. Not just did I say hyperbole? I meant hyperbole. I'm such a moron. But you know what I mean? Like Lunatic Fringe, they should actually make Dean Ambrose fucking crazy, and not just I don't think Dean Ambrose is crazy. He's crazy just because he calls himself the Lunatic Fringe. Whatever, makes no sense. I will say this though, on two different things that you said here. With Mustafa Ali, yeah, the costume he wears isn't really part of his character, per se. But to say that he wrestles like every other guy in the roster is just pure nonsense. Now, I know, like you said, you really haven't watched full episodes of Raw or SmackDown, which probably means you have not been watching 205 Live. But Mustafa Ali is one of the best in the company right now. And I'll talk more about this a little later on, but that match that he had with Buddy Murphy last night was pure proof of that. He is not just like a guy who wrestles like every other guy in the roster, which I understand what you mean, and I do agree with that. With a lot of other people, that is definitely the case. Finn Balor, I think, is a prime example of that. Mustafa Ali is not. Yeah, he has a cool costume that really doesn't have anything to do with his character at all. But to say that he wrestles like every other guy in the roster is short-sighted. You have to really check out his matches to see that's not the case. And with Finn Balor, he should be the Demon more. We have not seen the Demon since that AJ Styles match at TLC last October, almost 9 months ago. So I find it very hard to believe that they don't have plans for the Demon or they don't want to make money with the Demon character. I know they're doing the whole Balor Club for everyone right now, the LBG t-shirts and all that other stuff, and that's great. But you do have this money-making gimmick here with the Demon Finn Balor. Why not use it? With Finn, you might have mentioned it there. You kind of did. But when he is the Demon, he doesn't wrestle any different as the Demon than he does as Finn Balor, which is why some people have kind of soured on the Demon stuff. Doesn't mean you should get rid of it entirely, but it is worth pointing out that, he should probably switch up his in-ring arsenal if he's going to be the Demon moving forward, on special occasions anyway. Now, like I've always said, I think being the Demon every once in a while is great. Maybe not every once in 9 months. I think maybe every other month, or the big 4 or 5 pay-per-views. Not fucking once a year. I think that makes no sense. If they really want to make money off the gimmick, then I don't know why they're just, tucking it away and never using it. But nonetheless, with Finn Balor and the nicknames and stuff like that, they really should, again, take it to the next level. And, actually have people be their characters 24/7. Like Woken Matt Hardy is fucking Woken Matt Hardy constantly. He's never not Woken Matt Hardy on Twitter. Maybe not in real life all the time, but like in interviews and stuff like that. But largely in backstage interviews and in the ring, in his promos, he is always Woken Matt Hardy. And that's what makes the character so great, in my opinion. Captain Sunshine from YouTube. Why have the past 3 Raws felt like slightly different reiterations of each other? Lashley and Reigns keep fighting the Revival in tag team matches. Curtis Axel keeps beating Matt Hardy. And Mojo Rawley keeps making fun of the guy in No Way Jose's conga line, who wears the same cheeseburger costume. I have heard of jokes about how the creative team just writes their first drafts on a dry erase board and permanent marker and then uses the same outline until the ink finally wears off, but this is ridiculous. They have just clearly run out of ideas, or they're too lazy to put forth an effort into making a compelling show, into producing a compelling show. Because the last 3 weeks, I completely agree, have not been that really good at all. Maybe a good match here and there like Ziggler and Rollins in the main event of Monday Night Raw last week was great, but the overall shows are not good at all. And Raw has been in this kind of funk since the Superstar shakeup, and maybe it is the fact that they have no real credible heels. They try to build up Jinder Mahal for a cup of coffee. That didn't work out. Baron Corbin, they're trying with. I don't know how far that's going to go. They have Kevin Owens, but if they keep on pushing him over in porta potties, that's not going to really work out too well either. And then you have, who else is even on the roster? Sami Zayn got hurt. What other heels do they have? Brock Lesnar's never fucking there. So I don't know. But yeah, the Raw formula has become not at an all-time bad. Like Raw has been far worse in the past. Trust me. We have seen much worse episodes of Raw in past years. So don't even start with that bullshit. But yeah, the last 3 or 4 Raws have really been like, it's the same thing, the same people in the same spots in the show, having the same exact matches. It's like taking the same people and putting them in different combinations of the same match. I know that's what wrestling is in a nutshell, but really Raw has taken it to an entirely different level and doing it ad nauseum week after week after week. And they wonder why people don't care about the product. SmackDown does a better job of it, in my opinion, but SmackDown also has a lot of people they're not really doing anything with at all. That's their fault right now. They have Andrade Sin Almas. They're finally doing something with Sanity, but they have The Bar, we have not seen on TV in like a month. They have Samoa Joe, who has not been on TV since the Gauntlet match 2 weeks ago. What are they doing with these people? Largely nothing, as they have no plans for him, because the show is only 2 hours, and I don't want to see it expand to 3 hours, but you can have a 2-hour show by incorporating as many people as possible, but that's just purely my opinion. Anyway, going back to the next question here. Brandon A. from YouTube, top 3 matches of the week. Like I said earlier, how could it be anything but Ali and Murphy from 205 Live last night? That no disqualification match was fucking tremendous. So I don't care if you watch 205 Live weekly or you don't. You need to go out of your way to watch Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Murphy. The match was fantastic. That was easily my match of the week. The other 2 matches are from Ring of Honor's Best in the World pay-per-view on Friday. The Briscoes versus the Young Bucks for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Every bit as excellent as I expected it to be. And as well as Jay Lethal versus Kushida from the same show. They had a great match as well. Maybe not the instant classic that I was expecting. It wasn't outstanding, but it still was a great match with a lot of great near falls and great drama and great action. So 3 awesome matches for you to check out right there. His second question, top 5 NXT matches of the mid-year. This was real easy. The WWE one that you gave me after this was a bit more difficult, but the NXT one was easy. Gargano Almas for the NXT Championship from TakeOver Philadelphia. The ladder match to determine the inaugural NXT North American Champion from TakeOver New Orleans. Gargano Ciampa 1 from TakeOver New Orleans as well. Gargano Ciampa 2 from TakeOver Chicago 2. And this is from an episode of NXT TV. I mean, all those are from takeovers. I wanted to throw in an NXT TV match, so I included, and RJ's going to love this one, Pete Dunne versus Kyle O'Reilly for the WWE United Kingdom title. That was an amazing match on a recent episode of NXT TV. So I got to incorporate that one as well. There might have been just as good matches on NXT TV this year. I know there have been some very good matches on NXT TV this year, but that was the only one that really stood out to me as like being amazing and worthy of being on this list. Top 5 WWE matches of the mid-year. Like I said earlier, Ali and Murphy. Ali and Murphy has got to be in the top 5. If not Ali and Murphy, then Murphy and Cedric Alexander. You can't put together a top 5 best matches in WWE in 2018 so far list without incorporating at least one cruiserweight match. Cedric Alexander and Roderick Strong also had an amazing match a few months ago. But if I had to pick just one, it would be Ali and Murphy from last night's show. So that's got to be on the list. I might get shit for this, but honestly, Rousey and Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie from WrestleMania, I thought was the match of the night on that show from WrestleMania 34. Now, from an in-ring standpoint, it wasn't an instant classic, but it captured the crowd unlike any other match on that entire show. And I think you would be remiss to not mention that match as one of the best bouts all year from a pure entertainment standpoint. So those 2 matches. I would also include the men's Royal Rumble match. In my opinion, one of, if not, maybe not the best, but one of the best Rumble matches they've ever done. The women's was very good too. I thought the men's was better. The men's Rumble, one of the best they've ever done, has got to be on that list. Seth Rollins versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship from Backlash a few months ago. And also the Gauntlet match that took place on Raw right before Elimination Chamber, where Seth Rollins did an amazing showing and the match lasted like 2.5 hours. Yeah, that was a great match. So I would include that on there as well. Top 5 non-WWE matches of the mid-year. I can't really say this fairly just because I have not seen much of New Japan. The New Japan I have seen, the matches I have seen are amazing, and I will include here Okada Omega 4 from the most recent Dominion show, which was one of, if not the greatest match of all time, according to a lot of people, which I would agree with. The match was amazing. Jericho and Omega from Wrestle Kingdom earlier on this year. I thought was a terrific match for the United States Championship. The Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers from the Strong Style Evolve show, I think it was called, back in March. That was a great match. Another Young Bucks match. I'll include the last 2 from Ring of Honor. Impact has been a lot better this year. I don't know if there's been any matches that I would consider like match of the year. I don't think so. But I'll just include the last 2 from Ring of Honor. So Young Bucks versus the Briscoes from Friday's pay-per-view. And again, Ring of Honor has had a lot of great matches this year. That was it's still fresh in my mind, which is why I included it. But that was a great match too. As well as for the Ring of Honor World Championship from the 16th anniversary show, Dalton Castle versus Jay Lethal. That was a breakout performance for Dalton Castle, who we already knew was great, but that was easily the best match he had during his run as Ring of Honor World Champion. That match was tremendous as well. And Brandon's final question here: what are your thoughts on WWE not putting Vader into the Hall of Fame, knowing that he was on borrowed time? I couldn't believe that I did not talk about this on Wrestle Rant Radio 2 weeks ago at this point, because he passed away and I talked about the legacy that he left behind, but I forgot to mention the biggest thing on my mind at the time was the fact that it really pissed me off they did not induct him into the Hall of Fame while they still could. The company was well aware, too. It wasn't a case of where, he got into a car accident and they had no idea he was going to die. First of all, I know that happened with Macho Man. He wasn't sick before he passed away. He might have been, I don't know, but he had a heart attack on the car accident. He should have been in years in anyway. He should have been years ago in anyway, regardless of whether he was sick or not. It should not prompt them. It does sound bad, but someone being sick or on their deathbed or having cancer or whatever should not prompt the company to induct them while they're still alive. But honestly, they should have. When Vader announced almost 2 years ago that he had 2 years left to live, maybe because of what he ended up passing away from, I'm not sure. But when he mentioned that, I'm thinking, get this guy in the Hall of Fame next year, or the year after that, in 2017 or 2018, and they didn't. But he should have been in anyway. It wasn't a case of is he really worthy, but we want to throw the guy a bone before he dies, so let's put him in the Hall of Fame. Did they not believe that he still was on borrowed time? Did they not believe that he was, only had a few years left? Vader was kind of making it out to be a bit dramatic when the news first broke, but he wasn't for good reason. The guy only had 2 years left to live, and he did DDP yoga, got in better shape, and all this other stuff. And it's not like he's on bad terms with the company either. That was the weird thing to me. He was brought back for the Raw 1000 show a few years ago. He wrestled on Raw against Heath Slater back in June of 2012 here in Connecticut. He was at the Hall of Fame 2 years ago to induct Stan Hansen in. So where the fuck is Vader? That made no sense to me. But yeah, that really does bother me why, how they did not induct him before he passed away. And maybe, watch them induct him next year. This is what they do. With China, they should have done it years ago. Macho Man, they should have done it years ahead of time. They still have yet to induct China, and China passed away in 2016. So they usually wait 3 to 4 years to wait, they usually wait that long to induct someone after they pass away to make it look like they're not capitalizing on it. They're not capitalizing on that person's death. Paul Bearer was different. He should have been inducted before he passed away too. But I think they might have been planning on doing that year anyway for the Hall of Fame in 2013. But he was still very much active in wrestling. So if they didn't induct him that year while he was still alive, it wasn't that big of a deal because, he was still around anyway. He was being brought back for various things. But anyway, it does bother me that they did not induct him while he was still around. CJS from Facebook. What are the odds they let Rusev win the title at Extreme Rules? Very slim. Very, very slim. I don't think there's a shot in hell that Rusev walks out of Maryland. Is it in Maryland? Where are they? I have no clue. Oh, Philadelphia. Or not Philly. Pittsburgh. Whatever. I don't think there's a shot in hell that Rusev walks out of Pittsburgh, the new WWE champion. I think it'd be great, but they did not have AJ reign as champion for so long just to have him lose it to Rusev. Otherwise they would have changed the championship had it change hands at Money in the Bank to Shinsuke Nakamura, but they didn't. Because it's obvious they have long-term plans in place for AJ as champion, whether it be with Samoa Joe, or The Miz, or Daniel Bryan. Either way, it's merely a filler feud, and it's great that Rusev is getting the shot, and I hope they have a great match, but it's very clear that they're not letting Rusev win the championship. Not that he shouldn't, because I think it'd be cool. Maybe if he dropped it back the very next week or the very next month, at least he got a shot or a run with the top title. That'd be awesome. But at the same time, with AJ, they've come this far. It really should be a big moment. And Rusev winning would be a big moment. But I don't know. I really do feel that Samoa Joe should be next in line for a run with that championship. Or for a shot and then a run with that title starting at SummerSlam. Mark S. from Facebook, his first question was, what do you think of the Extreme Rules stipulation on the Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax match at Extreme Rules? Should it have been a triple threat match instead involving Natalya, and would you have placed the Extreme Rules stipulation on some other bout on the card, maybe Rusev versus AJ? Yeah, I think Rusev and AJ would have been a better Extreme Rules match. I know it's the first match in their feud, but it's called Extreme Rules for a reason. The whole reason for the fucking pay-per-view is to have, what a concept, Extreme Rules matches. And if you don't want to do that, then scrap the goddamn pay-per-view. It makes absolutely no sense to have a pay-per-view where you have more regular matches than you do Extreme Rules matches. That's fucking stupid as hell. So anyway, with the Nia Jax Bliss match, making it a no DQ, Extreme Rules, hardcore match, whatever you want to call it, no holds barred, I'm fine with that, just because the feud has gone on for so long now. They needed a stipulation. I did not want another Alexa versus Nia one-on-one straight-up singles match. I could not have cared less about that. So they needed a stipulation. I don't know what else you would have done for this feud, maybe Steel Cage, but I feel like they might be saving that for Kevin Owens or some other match on the show. But I'm fine with the stipulation being on that match because they needed a stipulation. The three-way with Natalya, absolutely not. Natalya does... I mean, honestly, you know what? It's not too far-fetched because Natalya did beat Bliss last week, and they made no mention of that this week. Zero mention, which is beyond dumb. But, again, with Natalya, it's like... You have her pin the champion, give her a fucking title shot. Maybe not at the pay-per-view, but just do it on TV. Do it on TV. Have Bliss beat her in 5 minutes and just get it over with. Maybe they'll wait until after Extreme Rules, but I just find that I found that to be really, really stupid. If anything, I was hoping for a three-way with Ronda Rousey. I was really hoping for a triple threat with those three. But maybe they didn't want Rousey to lose again. Obviously, she would not have to be pinned. They can just have Bliss pin Nia Jax, but they probably didn't want her to lose again. I mean, she technically won in the last pay-per-view by disqualification. But anyway, I think that would have been more exciting than Bliss and Nia again. But at least they had the stipulation with the no DQ stuff. Hopefully they make the most of it. His next question, do you reckon NXT will continue the UK division versus Undisputed Era versus War Raiders feud heading into NXT War Games? Are the War Raiders even feuding with the UK division right now? Or Undisputed Era? Did I miss something? But no, I don't think... If you're talking about like British Strong Style versus the Undisputed Era, no. I don't think that'll last until this year. It would be cool if it did, because I think if you had those three teams, those two trios, and then one other trio, that would be really, really cool. But that's friggin' 4 months away if they bring it back over Survivor Series weekend. I'd rather see everyone involved move on to something else. So I don't think it's likely. It would be cool, but I don't think that's all too likely at all. His next question, what would be your view on the Iron Man match between Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins at Extreme Rules, ending in a draw and a Falls Count Anywhere bout happening at SummerSlam? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm sure they would kill it in a Falls Count Anywhere match, don't get me wrong, but that screams AJ Nakamura 2.0, where they had two of their matches end in a draw. No thanks. We literally just saw that with that feud. I'm done with that shit. Have Ziggler win and have it be over. Maybe have Rollins regain the gold and do a rematch at SummerSlam, but don't give us another fucking shit finish where Ziggler and Rollins go the distance and it ends in a draw, and then we get another match at SummerSlam. That would be ridiculous. So I really, really hope that's not the case. I am looking forward to the match, though. I think the Iron Man match should be great, and I think it's going to very easily steal the show. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, do you think they should be doing the Dr. Shelby counseling segments with Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens instead of Sasha Banks and Bayley? Yeah, the Dr. Shelby stuff, it was so great to see him back on TV this week just because the guy was such a gem when he was first around 5-6 years ago with the Team Hell No stuff, but it doesn't really fit this feud between Banks and Bayley that should be serious. It feels more comedic than anything. But yeah, putting him on SmackDown, or maybe on SmackDown with Team Hell No, which would also be awesome. But yeah, with Owens and Zayn, because that feels more comedic. I mean, they put the freaking guy in a porta potty. They put Kevin Owens in a porta potty, so I think Dr. Shelby is needed more with them than they need Banks and Bayley at this point. So yeah, I think he'd be a great fit for those guys. I don't think they'll do it. I think they just keep her on just keep Dr. Shelby around, period, because the guy's amazing as a character. But yeah, I think he would be more he would make more sense with the Strowman-Owens feud than he would so far with Banks and Bayley, just based off what they're going for with both programs. His second question, instead of wasting 2 months on that Big Cass versus Bryan feud, do you think they should have done an Almas versus Bryan feud instead? Yeah, I think they should have. I think incorporating Almas right from the get-go in a feud with Daniel Bryan and having him beat Daniel Bryan on pay-per-view, a lot like Kevin Owens and John Cena from 3 years ago, would have been awesome. They can still do that at some point. Almas is like nowhere to be seen on the show, which pisses me off because the guy's so good. They're probably waiting until Sin Cara is good to go and good to compete because I guess he got hurt or something. But just scrap that. Do that match when Sin Cara comes back. But in the meantime, put Almas with Bryan. I mean, the Team Hell No stuff is cool, but, I think Bryan deserves better. I'll be talking all about this in an article going up today for Bleacher Report, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, also it would have made more sense just to do it from the get-go with Bryan and Almas instead of Bryan and Big Cass, because Bryan and Big Cass, in retrospect, served absolutely no purpose. Bryan gained really nothing from beating Big Cass twice. Let's face it, the first match sucked. The second match was good, wasn't great. And Big Cass was by no means elevated by that feud. If anything, he was elevated right out the door to the unemployment line. But aside from that, the feud served no purpose. So yeah, I think an Almas and Bryan feud would have been a much better idea for Almas' first feud on the main roster. His next question, would you like to see Hideo Itami wrestle outside of the Cruiserweight division? I think it would be cool. I don't know at this point. I'm not sure if the main roster writers would give him much of a chance. I'd rather just see him stay in the 205 Live ranks. He's getting a championship match next week, which is great. They're finally doing right by Hideo Itami after so long, which is awesome. I don't think he'll win. He could, I guess. But I'd rather just see him right where he is right now because I think they would just have him drown on Raw or even on SmackDown. So they have so much talent, they really would not know what to do with Hideo Itami. If they really weren't doing much with him in NXT, what makes you think they would do anything of note with him on the main roster when they already have their top Japanese star in Shinsuke Nakamura, I mean, not to say they can't push more than one Japanese star, but they could put Itami on Raw, Nakamura on SmackDown, Asuka's on SmackDown, Akira Tozawa is also part of 205 Live. So they have their fair share of Japanese talent spread out throughout the entire company, which is good. And they're not all in one place. But, yeah, I think it'd be cool, like to see Itami versus Daniel Bryan again, to rekindle that rivalry from so many years ago, or Itami versus, like, Finn Balor and stuff like that. But really, if they don't even know what to do with Finn Balor, they put him in a friggin' feud with Baron Corbin, then what makes you think that Itami would be any different? So I'd rather just see him stay right where he is right now. At Real Brett Resek, I don't know how you pronounce that, but from at Real Brett, thoughts on Noam Dar's return to 205 Live, and could he be an effective babyface? I mean, we'll see. As a heel, he was good. He showed more personality as a heel than he ever did as a babyface prior to that point in late 2016. But the stuff with Alicia Fox was, like, fucking terrible. It was awful. Really did nothing to generate the guy genuine heat at all. The guy's a great wrestler. So if he can do what he did on the NXT UK Championship show a few weeks ago and showcase his skills and get over that way, then I think he'll be a good fit as a babyface. But I'm glad to see him back. I think he got obviously a much better reaction when he returned to the UK as compared to 205. A lot of people were like, who the hell is this guy and why should I care that he's back? But it is cool to see him back 205 Live. They have a stacked roster right now. Bringing Dar back into the mix is awesome. But I think Dar would be a better fit in this new UK title mix. He can still appear on 205 Live like Mandrews, or Mark Andrews, whatever. I know Mandrews was his TNA name. But I think he is a better fit in the UK title picture right now just because I think he'd be better received over there and given more of a chance to do what makes him so good in the ring. So we'll see, but I am glad he's back, though. At Reborn again from Twitter, should WWE think about taking Mustafa Ali off of 205 Live and giving him a chance at a mid-card title on either Raw or SmackDown? Same thing like I said earlier with Itami. I think Ali has a better chance just because the guy is amazing. Itami is too, but Ali has been on the fucking roll for months now. Based off his performances at WrestleMania, in their Cruiserweight Championship tournament, and in recent months against Murphy and Alexander. So, yeah, with Ali, I think he would have a much better chance of succeeding at either show, but I'm still not confident they would know what to do with the guy. So I'm going to say no to that until I'm given more of a reason to believe that they'll take a cruiserweight and do right by him, because so far we have yet to see that. We have yet to see anyone leave the cruiserweight division and have any real success. I don't know if we've seen anyone leave the cruiserweight division, period, in WWE up to this point. So once you're there, it's like once you're a cruiserweight, you can't go back, which is fine. 205 Live is a much better show than it used to be. But a guy like Cedric or a guy like Ali, Mustafa Ali, I think would be, or even a Buddy Murphy, I think could be a great asset to either the Raw or SmackDown rosters. It just worries me that the writers would not know what to do with any of those guys, just because, they're cruiserweights, they have no characters, they can't get over. Like, Ali manages to get a great reaction every single, maybe not when he comes out, but after he does his thing in the ring, people just go nuts for the guy. He's one of the best baby faces in all of WWE right now, easily on 205 Live. So, yeah, I don't think they should take him off 205 Live anytime soon. I think he's just hitting his stride right now with great match after great match after great match. Maybe down the line, when we're given more of a reason to believe that, okay, maybe now he'll be fine on Raw or SmackDown, but for right now, I would just keep him a lot like a Tommy right where he's at. His next question: who would be your 5 favorite and 5 least favorite women/Divas champions in WWE history, or even just since you've been watching wrestling? Yeah, I can't really say of all time. Like, I can't say, Jazz really did it for me as the Raw or as the WWE Women's Champion. I wasn't around back then. I can't really say that. I really know nothing about her title reign, at all. In the 10 years that I've been a fan for, I was about to make a list, but really, I have had no real favorite women's champions. I really enjoy women's wrestling, but up until a few years ago, the women's division was pure shit. So I didn't really have many favorite women's champions. But I will say this: I think Eve did a great job with the title every time she held it. Better the next time than the last time. Like, when she held it the first time, she really wasn't that experienced. I thought she was a good fit for the title, but she won it. Didn't really do much. The second time around, she had a decent reign, better than the first. And then the third reign, she went heel and had a great reign and had some decent matches with Layla and with Caitlyn, Naomi, and a few others. So Eve would be up there. AJ Lee, too, obviously holding the championship for as long as she did, and a number of times from 2013 to 2014. So yeah, AJ Lee would also be up there. I would say Paige, but Paige really didn't do anything as Divas champion. If you're including NXT, then yeah, but you said WWE, so I'm not going to include Paige or Bayley or whoever else from NXT. Alexa Bliss in recent years, because I've really enjoyed her character work, her mic work. Charlotte would be a great women's champion. She held that title for a long time in 2016, 2017, so she'd be up there. She had a great reign as well from 2015 too. Even going back further than that, Beth Phoenix maybe. Least favorite women's champions, Lay Cool felt like it would never fucking end. That felt like it was just a cancer for the women's division. They weren't bad wrestlers, but it was that was all there was. There was really Lay Cool and then no one else. So Lay Cool, that was a dark time for the women's wrestling, for the women's division, Raw and SmackDown years ago. Kelly, I'll give her credit. She had some decent matches with the likes of Beth Phoenix. She got better during that reign. I don't know if she was the worst women's champion they ever had, though. I know John will say that she is. I mean, that's debatable. I wouldn't say that she is. I thought the Beth Phoenix match at SummerSlam was actually decent, a lot better than I thought it would be. Fucking Alicia Fox, she was one of the worst champions they ever had. Won it in a 4-way. They did absolutely nothing with her after that point. No one gave two craps about Alicia Fox as the Divas champion. She was merely keeping the belt warm until she lost it to Melina at SummerSlam that year. I'm trying to think who else even held the championship. Naomi's reign last year I thought was good. Didn't do much for me. Natalya too. She held the belt for a couple months. I honestly really did not care. Nia Jax's reign, I don't know, it was alright. It wasn't great. But that's some of my favorite and least favorite women's champions from the last 10 years. His next question: should WWE drop the Extreme Rules pay-per-view theme since they're PG, or is there a way to salvage it? It's not that they're PG and can't do an Extreme Rules pay-per-view, because the Extreme Rules pay-per-view was born pretty much when they started going PG in 2009. Now, they had One Night Stand before that. They got rid of that name, obviously. But they started Extreme Rules in 2009, and it was a cool concept because every match on the show was Extreme Rules. the further along we've gone along, the more matches on these shows aren't Extreme Rules, like by any means. There's not even a stipulation on most of these matches. So again, with the theme, they've been really getting lazy with it. And in that case, if you're gonna have the same amount of Extreme Rules matches as you will on any other show, then why the fuck would you have the pay-per-view around? Why even bother? I don't understand that. So, not even just because they're PG, but just because they're not doing anything that's extreme. Not like, oh my god, you need to put someone through a flaming table. I'm not saying that per se. But just with the stipulation, it's like if you're not going to make the most of the stipulations in each match, then why even bother having the pay-per-view itself? Like, I never really understood that. So, if they're not going to make the most of it, then they might as well just scrap the entire show. At the Average Grunt from Twitter, what do you think are the top 3 best WWE Kickoff matches? And, if you're feeling generous, what do you think is the worst WWE Kickoff match? So I didn't have the time to go back and look back at every single Kickoff match the WWE pay-per-views have ever had. And I wouldn't go back to like the In Your House shit from like years ago and the pre-show matches from like many years ago, like on Heat and stuff like that. I'm going purely off of it. Like you said, the WWE Kickoff. And when you say Kickoff, I think of the pre-pay-per-view shows, the pre-pay-per-view matches dating back to WrestleMania 28. I think is when they first started doing it. Because at WrestleMania 28, at that point, they were doing it on their YouTube channel, because this was obviously pre-network. You could watch the pre-show match on YouTube. And at that point, I think it was like a triple threat tag team title match. And then they've done it for every pay-per-view since then. Now, it's also, I think they also still do it on YouTube, but now you can obviously watch it on the network. But yeah, I can't say the worst. I mean, there's been a lot of forgettable ones. The only one in recent years that stood out to me as being bad, and I'm sure there's a lot more than just this, but the only one that came to mind was Rusev versus Big Cass from the Roadblock End of the Line pay-per-view, December of 2016. Fucking waste of a match. Went mere minutes, had a bad finish, the feud sucked, the match sucked. Yeah, that was the waste of time. I'm sure there's many more that just really serve no purpose, but that was one that came to mind that I'm thinking like, wow, that was really, really bad, or just it sucked and it really just was a waste of time. For the best ones, I mean, there's a number that I can name here. It's tough. It's shit. Because I do want to include this in the top 3, but I don't know if it's as good as the other 3, but Hornswoggle and El Torito. Now, you're going to think I'm a fucking crazy person for even saying that match. But it deserves credit. I mean, that was from Extreme Rules 2014. They had a really, really fun match. The crowd was going crazy for it in Chicago, a crowd that would normally crap on that type of stuff. But they were really, really electric for the match, and I thought it was a really, really fun match. A WeLC match is what it was called. And that took place on the Kickoff show. So that's got to be up there from Extreme Rules 2014. 2 New Day two Uso matches rather. One from Money in the Bank 2013, them versus The Shield. Specifically Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns for the WWE Tag Team titles. Great match. I think it took place in Philly. The crowd was awesome. The action was awesome. That match, in my opinion, really put the Usos on the map. That was easily the best match they had had in their careers in WWE up to that point. A true coming out party for the Usos on that show. So from that point, we also had the Usos in a SummerSlam kickoff match in 2017, just last year, against the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Probably the best match of the entire show, and it was on the Kickoff. But yeah, those two teams were always raising the bar. Their Battleground match was great. The SummerSlam match, the Hell in a Cell match, of course. Yeah, all their matches in 2017 were just outstanding. But yeah, that not first one, but this one from SummerSlam was terrific and deserves recognition. And then also I got to include here, and probably because I'm biased because I was there, but from WrestleMania 33, Neville and Aries for the Cruiserweight Championship, one of the best Cruiserweight Championship matches I've seen since they brought back the division back in late 2016, especially by that point where they didn't have many great matches and the division was kind of slept on. Neville and Aries had one of the best wrestling matches of the night. So they deserve credit for having a great kickoff match as well. So once again, honorable mention to Hornswoggle and El Torito, but my top 3 would be Neville and Aries from WrestleMania 33, Usos and New Day from SummerSlam 2017, and Usos and Shield from Money in the Bank 2013. At Rycoach27 from Twitter, WWE and NXT and New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor are doing a cross-promotion show. Who would you put in said matches, and who would you have win? I just made the matches. I don't really give a shit who wins, so I didn't even say, who cares? It doesn't matter. So I made the matches. That took up enough time. I'm not going to say who wins, because who cares? But you put, for the following stipulations, War Games, an Iron Man match, a tag team match, a no disqualification match, a ladder match, a cage match, and a singles match in the main event of the show. So this is what I would do for NXT, WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor. For War Games, Undisputed Era, that being Adam Cole, Bebe, Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly, versus the Bullet Club's Young Bucks, Fale, and Tamatonga. I guess you could put Adam Page in there if you wanted to, or Cody. I don't know. I just put Fale and Tonga because they've been in there the longest, along with the Young Bucks. For the Iron Man match, I put in Kenny Omega and AJ Styles. That really should go without saying. I think that would be an amazing match. Or Omega and Johnny Gargano, but I put AJ in there because I don't know, he's at the top of his game right now, as is Gargano, but I don't know. For the tag team match, the Briscoes versus the Usos. That's a match I've always wanted to say. A no disqualification match, Jay Lethal versus Seth Rollins. Two guys that consistently deliver in their respective promotions no matter what. In the ladder match, Ricochet versus Will Ospreay. Could be just a barn burner. I think they had some great matches over in New Japan before. You throw in a ladder match stipulation, that could be unreal. For the cage match, Pete Dunne, who I'm technically counting as part of NXT, because he does appear on the show, versus Marty Scurll. The villain versus the Bruiserweight would be awesome. And in the main event of the show, Okada versus Daniel Bryan is what I would have as the main event. At Scarlet1, as we wind down here, from Twitter, have you heard or seen anything about, have you seen or heard anything, rather, about Glow Season 2? I have not. I saw some people talking about it on my Twitter timeline by around Friday, Saturday. Some people said they were binging it, they were looking forward to watching it, said the first few episodes were good, they were fun, they were over the top crazy, but they were good. I have not yet seen anything. I saw like GIFs and stuff on Twitter, but I have yet to watch any part of the show, and I will. It took me like a month and a half to watch Season 1 just because I have no fucking time. But I will go back and watch Season 2 at some point. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. July should not be busy as June is. This week has been nuts because of the holiday, and next week should be busy too. But beyond that, I am looking forward to watching Glow at some point. And Scarlett's second question here. Are there any matches you want to be added to the Extreme Rules event? And if so, or if not, why? Not really. I think we have enough matches. I mean, I looked at the card before you asked me that question. We have 8 matches on tap. I think almost every single one, except for Roman and Bobby, is a cruiserweight, or is a cruiserweight. That's the only championship not being defended, is a championship match. I think 8's a good number. I think Money in the Bank had like 10. That's way too many. Technically 9 on the main card, and then 1 in the kickoff. So maybe throw in a kickoff match for the pay-per-view, but beyond that, we do not need more matches than that. And I don't even know what else you would add. I was going to say Hardy Nakamura, but they officially confirmed that last night. What else even is there to add? Like Andrade versus Sin Cara, if Sin Cara's good to go. Maybe on the kickoff show? I don't know, but maybe Joe and someone on the kickoff. I'm not really sure. Miz and someone? I have no clue. But yeah, so far, I think we have enough matches for the show. I really do not want to see more than 8. They probably will add more, because it is a 4-hour show, I think, after all, but whatever. I think 8 is enough. And finally, from that RJ_Marso, Mr. Marso, his question from Twitter. It is, what is the end game for the feud between Owens and Strowman? As of right now, it just seems that KO is a scared loser. I agree. He's a loser. Yeah, this has been going on for months, though. I mean, they've been doing this since Owens came to Raw in the Superstar Shakeup. Literally the night Owens arrived, he was put in that 10-man tag team match when I was there at that Raw against Braun Strowman and 4 other people. But yeah, Owens and Strowman have been like connected at the hip for months now. And I like the idea of like a unlikely alliance between the two. I think I said that a few weeks ago, but I like an Owens-Strowman tag team. Strowens. That's fucking terrible. But I like the idea of a KO and Braun tag team. Obviously not the direction they're going in. And I'm not even really sure what Owens did to deserve the the axe that he's gotten from Braun in recent weeks. Last week he had his car totaled, even though they had just won a tag team match. So I'm not really sure why Braun went ahead and did that. And then this week, Owens didn't even want to have the match, but he was just put in a porta potty and tipped over by Braun. What a bully. What a fucking bully. Be a star, Braun. Be a star. But, yeah, I don't really know where this is going. I mean, obviously, I would expect it to lead to Owens and Strowman at Extreme Rules, and then Strowman winning. I would assume it's been rumored that it's going to be a steel cage match. That would seem to make sense based off the fact that Owens ran away from their match on Monday, and therefore he can't run away in a steel cage, which he technically could, but that's the whole point of the match. Anyway, I assume it's just a filler feud for Strowman before he cashes in at SummerSlam. Or around that point, because he's got to cash in soon. We got to get that belt off Brock. We really do. Brock Lesnar has got to relinquish that Universal Championship. But yeah, with Owens, I don't know where you go with him from there, but they're solely focused, I would imagine, on Strowman right now. They need something for him to do, and they have a good dynamic as like partners, as as rivals. It's good too, but Owens continues to lose and lose and lose and lose and lose if he's on his own. And he'll likely lose again at Extreme Rules. I'm not saying that he should beat Braun, but I don't know where he's going beyond Extreme Rules, especially considering Sami Zayn just got hurt. I know a lot of people are like begging for a KO face. Not a lot of people, but I saw some people saying, oh, KO should go face. And you know what? He should, but if they are, then they should turn Roman Reigns heel, or Bobby Roode at the very least. Bobby Roode has not been on the show for weeks, but, I think it would help if he went heel. Anyway. Yeah, I think turning KO face right now would be the death of Raw, because they have no top heels. KO is like the closest thing to a top heel that they have, and the guy's the scared loser, like RJ said. So I don't know what the end game is here. I'm sure the company doesn't know either, but like I said, at the very least, expect some sort of stipulation match, very likely a steel cage match, at Extreme Rules between the two of them. And that does it for the 4th of July edition of Hashtag AskGSM here today, folks, episode 240. Thank you for tuning into the show, and for 5 years of Hashtag AskGSM, like I said, we mark the 5-year anniversary. Sunday will mark the upcoming 5-year anniversary of Hashtag AskGSM. 240 episodes later, the show is still going stronger than ever. So I appreciate your support of the show. I will continue to do this as long as I enjoy doing it and have time to do it. And, I've had less and less time as each year has passed, but I always enjoy doing the show. This has been a great time doing this, not only today, but every week for the last 5 years. So thank you for that. Thoroughly appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for taking time out of your holiday, if you are tuning in on Wednesday, to check out Hashtag AskGSM. We will be back next Wednesday with another edition of the show. So until then, guys, like I said at the start of the show, if you want to send in a question, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop a question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So again, guys, enjoy your Independence Day, or your regular Wednesday if you're outside of the United States. And I'll catch you guys next Wednesday. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Catch your ass down the road.